we're not going to get any closer to getting out of what we're doing by closing doors and saying no. Hey everybody, welcome to today's episode of the Jeff Heilman Project. I am here with the one and only Jeff Heilman. We're so glad that you're here with us. We're so glad that you've tuned in, shared, subscribed. We're at almost 200 subscribers, Jeff Heilman. Can you believe that? It's only taken over a year.
A year and a half. Yeah. Yeah, but that's not why we're doing it.
No.
If that was our core metric for success, I don't think we would have made it a year.
Yeah, no, probably not. Well, how was your week so far? I mean, I know last time that we talked, we were laughing because it's like a Tuesday to Tuesday, and the week hasn't happened yet. But from last time we were here, last Tuesday, how has your week been?
Yeah, it's good. This week's the last week of the fiscal year, so everybody's tired. We're all pulling. I've still got deals that I'm trying to get across the line in the last couple days, and I'm texting people and emailing people and waiting on purchase orders. And it's on one side, it's exciting because you don't really know how it's going to go, and on the other side, it's just, it's like the final week of harvest, and then it's going to end. The week's going to end no matter how we hold. So I have to literally sit there and just say, I could do this all damn day. I could do this all goddamn day.
I'm interested. What determines a company's fiscal? Because not all companies have the same fiscal year, correct?
Great question. Most of the time, what determines a company's fiscal year is when the customers do a majority of the buying of whatever their product is. Like Oracle does 40% of their fiscal year in the last 6 weeks, which is horrifying. I mean, it's just horrifying.
Do they offer a bunch of sales and promotions?
Yeah.
Is that
yeah,
why?
And that's why Oracle salespeople and management, I don't work for Oracle anymore, but Oracle salespeople and management typically were incentivized to hold out until the very end of the fiscal, and then they just drop their pants on stuff. So it's like you're training and conditioning customers to create a bottleneck at the very end of your fiscal year in order to get finances across. But, it's basically a mom and pop business. Larry Ellison and Safra Katz being
mom and pop.
So, they can run it any way they want. Oracle is still 40% of Oracle is controlled by Larry Ellison. It's lock, stock, and barrel. So, he runs the business however he wants, and that particular model is not too uncommon in technology. But most companies have a fiscal year around Christmas time, right? If they're in retail or consumer price goods. But in our case, we sell software, and our fiscal year happens to end in June. So.
Well, I was toying with the idea because we didn't really necessarily have a topic to discuss today on today's episode. I thought that it might be fun, like even just once a month, to just sit and like whatever we're thinking about, whatever like not necessarily have a topic. So like today's one of those.
I'm thinking about bananas right now.
Today's one of those episodes. By the time this airs, we will have gotten through the debates, the Biden and Trump debate.
That's Thursday.
That should be. That should have been
You're not going to be around.
That should have been entertaining, is what I should say.
I would say it'd probably be entertaining.
He's going to announce his running mate, and we know who's Biden's running with. So, anyways, it should be interesting.
I don't think any reason for Biden to change up horses midstream here with Kamala.
Gosh, I don't really. The only thing that I think that has been going on in my little mind lately is I had this picture in my mind of packing tape. And when you have packing tape, it doesn't, like, you can look at something that's got packing tape on it and you can see through it. So you don't necessarily know the packing tape is there, although it will impede your ability to get to whatever it is, wherever you're going. And there's this moment where you have to like rip it off. And so I've just really been thinking about like the invisible barriers, the invisible things that could be impeding our ability to get to where we're going. And then the reality that in order to get through the blocker, ripping that thing off, it creates a level of discomfort initially. And then there's ease, you know, and then there's relief, and then there's, oh, I can get to the thing that I've been trying to get to. There's no more barrier here. So my question to you, and maybe that's where this is going. We didn't have initial topic for today, but maybe that's where this is going. Is
this anything? I mean, that's Jerry Seinfeld's
yeah,
famous
is
line.
there a moment in the past that you can remember coming like face to face with a barrier, ripping it off, and then what happened as a like? What is there any barriers that you can talk about that are behind you that you've since removed, and you were like, that thing was really, that limiting belief that was really holding me back, but I addressed it, moved on past it, and
I caught a touchdown pass in a game in 6th grade one time. That was the thing. Got a B+ in physiology, in advanced AP physiology in high school. I got a job at Shoreline Golf Course, which I really wanted when I was 17. I got into middle college when I was 16. That was a barrier breaker.
maybe you can tell our audience about Roger Bannister, because it sounds like that's kind of what we're really talking about right now, but maybe not everybody knows who he is.
Roger Bannister, I think most people will probably be able to Google him and find pretty easily. He was the first man ever to run a timed mile in less than 4 minutes. And it had been, for a long time, it had been thought of like people would get to 5 minutes or 4 minutes and 50 seconds. And they're like, it's impossible. You can't run a 4-minute mile. There's no way.
Your heart will stop or
yeah.
what.
And it's like for a long time, you couldn't even run a quarter mile in 1 minute. And in order to run a mile in 4 minutes, you got to run a quarter mile in less than 1 minute and do it 4 times in a row. I think I ran a quarter mile in like 56 seconds or 58 seconds. And I was not really that fast.
That's smoking.
To do it at that pace for 4 minutes, it just seemed impossible for a long time. For hundreds of years, nobody thought you could do it. I wouldn't say hundreds of years, because you didn't come up with a clock until probably 1850s. But as soon as there was a clock, there was a dream of running a 4-minute mile, I'm sure. And nobody had ever done it before.
God, I'd never thought about that. Before the clock, you just, whoever crossed the finish line first won, right?
Yeah, it's whoever crossed the finish line, right? There's no record because you can't keep track of the time. Roger Bannister did it first. I don't know where he did. I don't know much about the story, but I do know that he trained for a really long time. And that when he finally did it, there was like 15 people that did it the next year. It was a mental barrier as well as a physical barrier. But as we see, most, not all, but most barriers are barriers in the mind. You know, we're constantly pushing ourselves up against those types of things in our life. It's kind of part of what made us. We wanted to have 7 kids. We believed that we could provide for 7 kids. We believed that we could stay debt free. We believed that I could get a job in high technology software sales and enterprise software sales, even though I didn't have any background in engineering or sales or professional anything, engineering, coding. Still think the software spelled with a backwards Russian R. I mean, I don't really know anything about software other than what it does. I've even had I had a manager at Oracle one time. I closed a deal. The deal was announced on Larry Ellison's earnings call one quarter. It was a $10 million software contract that I worked on for 2 years. And 25 minutes after that deal came in, like the PO was in my inbox at 8:15. And at 9 a.m., I'm now 200% of plan for the year, halfway through the year, like with 6 months to go. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting at 200% of my plan for the quota. And my manager says, you know, nobody in this organization thinks you have what it takes to be an account manager at Oracle. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, gosh, I'm sure glad I don't listen to that guy. I probably wouldn't have been able to get this deal done and made my number. You know, he was angry. That particular guy was angry because he had to work and do his job during Christmas, which he didn't want to work his job during Christmas, and wasn't thinking about the fact that, you know, the deal made his number for the quarter and 2/3 of the year, and was angry. And people, I guess some people say things when they're angry that they regret or that they don't remember. He would disavow, you know, saying anything like that. But I remember how much of a limiting belief that he tried to put on me. And it's like, you know, I'm your top guy. I'm your boss's top guy. I'm your boss's top rep. And you want to wait. You don't even want to wait for 15 minutes for the ink to dry on the PO of the deal that's saving your Q3 to give me a piece of your mind. It's like, that's what we're up against in the world of corporate America. Is you're up against limiting beliefs of people who just have bad days and think that abuse of power is nothing they could be capable of doing. They want to try to take their self-limiting beliefs and try to get us to adopt them because apparently it makes them feel better. And so we have an opportunity, I think, in corporate America to really provide people with niceness.
Yeah.
I think that we have a really
Human kindness
and personal obligation. It's not, I mean, not everybody feels obligated to be kind or nice or just a good human being. I think most people, if you were to ask them, are you a good human being? Most people would say that they think that they probably are. And yet, when push comes to shove, we typically see a level of discipline failing in corporate America from people who just think that it's okay to be a total jerk to producers who eventually end up leaving your team because, they don't want to put up with that kind of stuff. So those self-limiting beliefs, there's that crab basket concept that people will try to bring you down to their level of bottom-dwelling mediocrity. And it's a fight. It's a fight every day. It's a fight for me. It's a fight in every job that I've had in trying to say, no, I think mediocrity will leave that for somebody that's willing to settle, and I'd rather do my best. Thank you very much. And I don't think that talk is real popular. I don't think it certainly hasn't made me popular. I've been fired, laid off, or gone out of business over 35 times. And some would say, God, I've had a very good friend actually, like, man, why do you talk about that? I think he was ashamed for me because of what he felt that represented. And to me, it just represents, I'm just going to go be the best that I can possibly be. And I'm okay with the fact that if you think about self-limiting beliefs, which is kind of our topic that we're creating here, I had a chance to meet a hero of mine one time, Malcolm Gladwell. And he talked about the number one thing that he saw in people who did really, really well, that he'd been studying and writing about for 4 decades.
And Andrew, we have a picture of Dad and Malcolm.
Yes.
If you want to post that, we can send
post
it to you.
that. That was a little photo op that I took, but I did spend a few minutes with him. And I talked with him about the fact that my wife will read Malcolm Gladwell books while we're on the road with our kids going to Disneyland or wherever we're going to the mall. And he said that the number one thing that he found from studying people for 4 decades was disagreeableness, the willingness to be disagreeable with self-limiting beliefs is really what he's talking about. Because nobody's going to be disagreeable just to be, if somebody's disagreeable just to be a jerk, they're not really a leader. And I've met people like that. You say this, oh, no. All right, so this is what you're saying. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying the opposite of that. Oh, so you're saying the opposite of that. No, I'm not saying the opposite of that. I'm saying the opposite of the opposite of that. That's like, those people are just jerks. They're disagreeing with everything. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm not talking about being disagreeable for the sake of being disagreeable. I'm saying having a capacity to disagree with the commonplace because there's something that you see that could be done differently or needs to be done better or needs to stop being done or needs to be done instead of it not being done at all. Like that contrarian disagreeableness, he said, was, a top factor in the thing that he saw among successful people.
It seems that having as many, dealing with infants and toddlers and
some of them are
people,
fully grown.
People prone to tantrum. What I've found is that disagreeableness, that arguing for the sake of arguing is like the number one indicator of boredom. Just totally bored.
Yeah, I agree.
Totally bored out of their mind. Totally like, okay, I've got my routine. And that's what I believe that Roger Bannister was able to show us, was that you can break through the boredom. You can do something to set a standard or a base or whatever to show others that you don't have to be stuck accepting the status quo, the same old routine. So in this case of Roger Bannister, what do you think happened to other people? Like, is it enough to just see somebody else win and then, oh, well, if he did it, I could, like what's going on in the person when they see that and then something goes, oh, well, if they can do it, I can do it. Because they still have a limiting belief. Does that just overnight disappear when somebody breaks through?
I don't think it starts out with breaking the 4-minute mile. I think it's little things. Like if we go to all I can do is draw on personal experience in this one. But when I was 16 and I had an interview to get into college at 16 through a high school sponsored program, and I made it in, I was like, I'm what they're looking for. Like I'm one of the guys that can do this college load. Plus I had a full-time job. Plus I had a bicycle. I was commuting like 5 miles each way to go to school because I wanted to go to college. I wanted to be out of high school. I was not having a good time. I didn't have good social skills. I didn't feel included. And I think as I've gotten older, I think most people don't feel like they have very good social skills. I think public school overall is an avenue for people to get their kids some form of basic education. But I mean, kids can read. You can get everything off the internet now that you're interested in. And so then it becomes, all right, what's the social play and how do we get our kids adopted? We've just always felt that people learn people skills from their parents. They learn from authority figures. They learn from their siblings, and they can learn how to do other stuff through extracurricular activities. So that was what we did with our kids. But these little wins, these little victories. I got a job at a golf course when I was 17. That was awesome. I got a job caddying. I started a tennis racket stringing business when I was like 14 or 15 with a friend of mine. That was a little win. And so each time you do these things, when people look at the failures or the jobs that they've lost, if I look at the jobs that I've lost, I think I've been fired like 21 times. And in almost every case, I'm trying to think of a single case. One time I got fired because I was stealing stuff. That wasn't too smart. But aside from that, every time that I got fired from a job, it was because I was bored out of my mind. They were asking me to do stupid stuff, and I'm like, let me try to do something creative about putting these jeans on a shelf, right? No, we don't want you to do them creative. We want you to fold it this way. All right, I'll fold it this way while I whistle and sing. No, we don't want you whistling and singing. All right, I'll do it while I tap my foot. No, we don't want you tapping your foot. Yeah, this guy's too hard to manage. Get him out of here. Like that. It was that kind of stuff. And I'm just sitting here like they want me to just be this drone person. And I'm scratching my head going, where do they find the drone people? Where do they find somebody that's just willing to sit here and do what they're told and not ask any questions? Like, how bad a self-image do you have? Do you have to just sit there and be told what to do all day, every day, and never think or do anything creative or make any decisions or think outside the box? I mean, and it created problems for me with school. So I ended up getting out of doing first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade. Like, started doing school newspaper at fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade. Got out, went into extended learning programs in GATE and Mensa when I was in second grade and third grade. Seventh grade, I was a camp counselor. Eighth grade, I was a camp counselor. Ninth grade, I had a job. 10th grade, I was going to drop out. And 11th grade, I went to college and was working full time. So this concept of self-limiting beliefs and then little victories is a theme. So I don't know the story for Roger Bannister, but I would imagine that he probably ran smaller races. He ran races against competition, and he basically just starts blowing people away. And then the buzz around, hey, if he's 4 minutes and 35 seconds, is there any way he can grow his strength, grow his VO2 max, reduce his inflammation so he can run faster, lose 15 pounds? Like, how can we get this guy faster? And I'm sure he had a team around him that.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think there's two things that we can draw from is definitely your team and your coach and mentor 100%. In your life. And then the other thing is
I can't do what I'm doing right now at work or at the house. Like if you look at all the things that you do to support where we're going as a family, like I'm the engine for it and driving it, but the engine goes off the road without somebody steering. You got to have shifts of things.
The other thing that is you got to know your lane. I mean, the thing that as you're talking made me think about was an endurance runner is not a sprinter, and a sprinter is not an endurance runner.
No, I'm definitely not a sprinter.
And so, like recognizing the lane that you're in and staying, and excelling at that thing that you're doing is so, I think, paramount because so many people, they either they're a sprinter, but they're admiring the endurance runner, and they're like, well, I'm super fast, but I can't go for 26 miles. I can't run 26 miles, and so therefore I'm a loser. Or the marathon runner is like, I can go for 26 miles, but I can't run I can't run each of these 26 miles. I can't run them for under 2 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
And so knowing the lane that you're in, and then being able to like excel in that lane and having some good coaching. I mean, it's what everybody wishes and everybody aspires, and it is pretty difficult to, get that combo. But if you've got that combo of good coaching and knowing the lane that you're in, then I don't know that there's anything that's stopping you, except for perhaps the belief that, that lid that is placed either on you by somebody else or by yourself. So.
And we're all dealing with self-limiting beliefs. Everybody has self-limiting beliefs, and not to be too prescriptive and say here's what you do, but I think if people can understand that their performance is going to be so much higher than what they actually think is possible.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We're making more money, doing more things, traveling to more countries, leading people better. We're creating a podcast. I'm posting every day on LinkedIn. We've got newsletters coming. We've got online courses coming. Like, the volume of work that we're putting out is starting to really increase, and we haven't even really gotten close to what we're capable of in that respect. I think that you and I could do a TV show. I think we could do a network. I think we could do a radio show or a radio network. I think that we could do hundreds of interviews with successful people. We've done those before on this show, and we can write books. We can do podcasts. We can do online courses, communities, speaking engagements, keynotes, workshops. We're capable of performing at a much higher level. And I think when I look at people who've done that, Steve Harvey.
Oh my gosh, his story.
He ends up something like $15 million in debt to the IRS.
Because his accountant was supposed to be filing properly.
His accountant dies. And when they go through the office and the accountant, they see like 8 years of tax returns.
That he never filed.
With the checks stapled to the tax return that had never been filed, and all the money was missing from Steve's account. And so the accountant would basically fill out what the taxes were and then take the $1 million, $2 million, whatever it was, every year, and just withdraw that money from his account. And Steve's like, oh, the check must have cleared for the IRS. And then the accountant dies, and 8 years this guy was his accountant, and realizes that he stole $10 million, which now became $15 million that Steve owed to the IRS. Steve's like, his monthly payback schedule to get it done in, I think, 5 years. All I remember is, I think it was more than 15 million. I think it was like $25 or $30 million, because his monthly repayment schedule to the IRS was $620,000 a month.
I love how he said, like, why did you see me on every celebrity, anything that I was invited to?
He's like, because I just started saying yes to everything.
And I had to pay those bills.
Yeah, that's just crazy to even think about that kind of. But talk about a self-limiting belief. Like, you've got to sit there and ask yourself a question like, how am I ever going to get out of this? And we've been in situations like that financially where we're like, how are we ever going to get out of stuff? And we have always gotten out of it, but it's always been because we've had to raise our thinking, our belief level to something that was bigger than whatever the situation was that allowed us to get in that.
And I
trouble
find
in
it
the first
interesting
place.
to hear him even say, like, I said yes to everything, like that the response to that kind of pressure is to say yes. And while I know that means like that meant that he would have to do more engagements and like actually, but our answer in many cases when we are pressed like that is to say yes, because if we say no, if we close doors, we're not going to be able, we're not going to get any closer to getting out of what we're doing by closing doors and saying no. We're going to get closer to getting out of whatever circumstance that we're in by saying yes. By saying, yeah, you know what? Oh, you've got an opportunity? Yes. Oh, you've got something I need to pursue? Yes. Oh, you think I can, and that goes back to like podcast number 2 or whatever that we did about improv, about the power of improv, is saying yes, just say yes. Just say yes.
Yes and.
Yes and. We could do this.
The 3 rules, I think I learned this from Tina Fey. The 3 rules of improvisational comedy are yes and, listen for the offers, and try to make your conversation partner look good. Try to help them, which is easy.
Yeah, those are
for me with you.
Aw, thanks, babe.
You do a great job.
We were just talking to Marcia. Hi, Marcia.
Hey, Marcia.
We were just talking to Marcia about being kingmakers. Like if we can all be in a position of humility to be able to say, you know what, I'm not here to make me look good. I'm here to make you look good.
Yeah. Benjamin Disraeli talked a lot about that. It's like, hey, I'm happy being a kingmaker. And he was great at it.
Yeah.
Being a number 2 guy in an organization. Being on top, being the top person, careful what you wish for. It's difficult being the number 1 person in an organization. And we know as entrepreneurs, like, we're always the number 1 person in our organization. It's always our fault. Everything is always screwed up because of us. We're the only ones that can fix it. We have to stay very humble. And I want people out there to know too that we don't always win. It's really easy to put on a happy face and to say that, you know, we just are impervious to total destruction, financial problems, failures. That's not the case. We do not always win. That said, we always get up off the floor and we keep trying. We
always play. We don't always win, but we always play the game.
Yeah, we play the game. That's true.
You made me think of Michael Jordan, about like how many baskets he's missed in his career, but yet,
I mean, game-winning baskets that where there's millions of dollars on the line and there's people betting, and he's got to live with the consequences of taking a shot and missing it. But there's also something to be said, and this is where when those self-limiting beliefs get hammered out of us, is that, hey, somebody has to take that shot.
Yeah.
And I'd rather have that somebody be me, and I would rather take the responsibility. I was saying that the other day with my car, is that if somebody's going to run my car into a brick wall or need $15,000 or $20,000 worth of repairs, I'd rather have it be me that destroys my own car than lend it to somebody and have them destroy it. But, you know, if you lend it to them and you destroy it, I'm still responsible because I'm the one that lent it to them. And so it's when we see that the reciprocal side of a self-limiting belief is always the ability to take responsibility for something, and I still think that disagreeableness factor that Malcolm was talking to me about. I'm willing to disagree with people in order to do what's right, in order to stand on principle, in order to try to help people see that they can become more. And that's this podcast. I think we could actually rename this podcast "Disagreeableness." Oh, it seems like it's fitting. Anyway, thanks for being with us here on the Jeff Heilman Project. Appreciate you guys listening, liking, and subscribing, and let us know what you're thinking about.
Let us know where you're at. Do you disagree or do you agree?
Yeah, do you disagree with my disagreeableness?
If there's anything
Can disagreeableness go too far? Right?
Can it go too far? And like always, if there's anything that you guys need or want us to talk about, want to bring up with us, please leave it in the comment section.
We love hearing folks and seeing comments posted.
Looking forward to seeing you next week on the Jeff Heilman Project. Good night, guys.
Thanks, everybody.